Welcome to Time Pharaohs, where history speaks and legends breathe. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for cinematic journeys into the heart of ancient Egypt. Have you ever wondered what a Tuesday looked like for someone in ancient Egypt? Forget the pyramids and the pharaohs for a moment. What did they eat for breakfast? Who did they gossip with? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the untold stories of everyday Egyptians. The Nile wasn't just a river, it was the heartbeat of Egypt. Its floods brought life, shaped seasons, and dictated survival. Farmers prayed to Hapi, god of the inundation, hoping for balance between drought and disaster. Boats were the highways of ancient Egypt. Merchants, messengers, and families traveled the Nile, connecting cities and cultures. Even funerals sailed toward eternity. Most Egyptians lived in modest mud brick homes. Families gathered around simple meals: bread, onions, beer. Children learned by watching their parents, not from books. Children didn't have schools, but they had imagination. They played with dolls, balls, and carved animals. Learning came through play, chores, and storytelling. Cats weren't just pets, they were sacred. Dogs guarded homes, oxen plowed fields, and birds were messengers of the gods. Education wasn't for everyone, but it was respected. Scribes trained for years, mastering hieroglyphs and math. Most children learned trades from their parents. Egypt's greatness wasn't built by kings alone. Carpenters, weavers, and masons shaped temples and tombs. In Deir el-Medina, artisans built royal tombs, but lived ordinary lives. Markets were the heart of Egyptian towns. Spices, pottery, linen, and fish were traded daily, with haggling, laughter, and gossip. Food was sacred. Markets buzzed with fish, figs, and honey. Even the poorest made daily offerings to the gods. Each day began with prayer and ended with offerings. The sun's rise and fall marked sacred moments. Tied to Ra, the sun god, religion was woven into every moment. The gods were everywhere. In the sun, the wind, the Nile, death wasn't the end. It was a journey to the field of reeds. Egyptian medicine blended science and magic. Honey, garlic, and herbs were used to treat wounds and fevers. Priests and healers worked side by side, healing body and soul. Amulets weren't decoration, they were protection. Scarab beetles, eyes of Horus, and ankhs were worn to ward off evil and attract blessings. Egyptian women had rights many ancient cultures denied. They owned land, ran businesses, and shaped dynasties. Everyday women were the backbone of society. Neighbors shared ovens, water, and stories. Community was everything, from raising children to mourning the dead. Marriage was a partnership. Couples shared work, raised children, and honored the gods together. Love poems and family rituals revealed deep emotional bonds. Messages traveled by boat and foot. Papyrus scrolls carried news, orders, and love across the kingdom. Seals marked ownership and trust. A clay stamp could protect a shipment or seal a promise. Funerals weren't silent songs. Tears and processions honored the dead, even without gold. Before prayer came purity, washing hands, feet, and hearts. Cleansing was both physical and spiritual. Evenings were for stories, tales of gods, monsters, and heroes echoed under oil lamps. Music filled homes and hearts. Flutes, drums, and voices turned ordinary nights into celebrations. Simple tools, sickles, hoes, baskets shaped the land. Farming was rhythm, sweat, and survival. Oxen pulled plows, ibises watched the fields. Nature wasn't background, it was partner and guide. Even in ancient Egypt, people dreamed to become a scribe, a priest, a builder of legacy. Success was honored with gifts, songs, and memory. A good life meant being remembered, not just buried. Egyptians painted their walls with stories. Scenes of farming, dancing, and worship filled tombs and homes. Not just for beauty, but for memory. Symbols spoke louder than words. The Ankh, the Scarab, and the Eye of Horus weren't just art. They were power, protection, and prayer. Egyptians didn't use clocks. They followed the sun. Work began at sunrise, paused at midday, and ended with the fading light. The year was divided by the Nile. Flood, growth, and harvest. Each season brought rituals, labor, and celebration. Proverbs and stories passed from elders to children. Lessons about honesty, patience, and fate were woven into daily speech. Boys learned to carve stone, girls learned to weave linen. Skills were inherited, not taught in schools but lived. Every home had a sacred corner. A small altar with incense, offerings, and prayers to household gods. Birth was sacred. Newborns were blessed with oils, charms, and songs. Welcoming them into the rhythm of life, names carried meaning. A child named Merit meant beloved. Names were prayers, identities, and destinies. Egyptian society had layers: farmers, artisans, priests, nobles. But dignity wasn't reserved for royalty. Every role had purpose. Egyptians wore linen, light, breathable, and elegant. Men wore kilts, women wore sheath dresses, and both adorned themselves with jewelry and amulets. Festivals marked the seasons: harvest, flooding, and religious rites. Music, dance, and feasting turned villages into vibrant celebrations. Life wasn't just toil and worship. Music, games, and festivals filled the streets. Even 3,000 years ago, laughter echoed across the Nile. As the sun set over the Nile, life slowed down. Families gathered under oil lamps, sharing stories and songs. The stars above were seen as gods watching over them. Not every Egyptian had a golden tomb. Most were buried with modest offerings: bread, beer, and amulets. Death was a passage, not a privilege, so forget the golden masks and royal crowns. The real Egypt lived in the rhythm of work, laughter, and love. Its legacy endures, not just in temples, but in the human spirit that built them. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and join us for more stories where pharaohs speak and history breathes. And here's a question for you. If you lived in ancient Egypt, what would your daily job be? Farmer, scribe, or artisan? Let us know in the comments below.